Welcome to this week's episode of Lagnapod. I'm Rob Holbert, your host, and we have several folks here today. Everybody sound off.
Ashley Trice.
This is Grant McLaughlin.
Scott Johnson.
Kyle Hamrick.
Tony Hicks.
We got a full house here at the Rectangular Roundtable. And the mayor's race is drawing nigh. We are getting close to it here. We're within a week of the mayor's race happening. We've had, I think, 2 debates this week, right, Kyle?
Yes, just in the past 24 hours we've had debates. We had one Monday night on Fox 10 at 6, and then AL.com did one at noon yesterday. And then we're doing this on Wednesday. There's another one tonight on NBC 15.
Okay.
Which by the time this goes up on Thursday will have already happened.
So we'll have had 3 debates this week. Any surprises in the debates thus far?
I think
most of us have watched both of them, right? I have.
Yeah.
I didn't watch yesterday's, but I could hear it coming from your office. So.
Yeah. It sounded kind of like it was being done from a sewer pipe or something. It was a little, the audio was a little
Yeah, they
tough,
did it virtually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they were going to do it at their office downtown.
But,
well, they did. That's what they said, but they had like a live stream.
Oh.
Yeah. It was a little tinny. But I mean, I think it's been much of the same stuff that we've asked about, much the same stuff we asked about when they came in and did podcast with us, that we asked them the questions. Yeah, the one with the press register, press register, AL.com, I'm having a flashback there, Tommy.
Back in the Sam Jones and Sandy race.
Like Doctor Who or something all of a sudden. But no, it's the one at the end of that one, I noticed that Barbara Drummond was made some comments that were a little bit salty, at the end about that Spiro is not from Mobile and that he had a lot of out-of-town money and this kind of stuff. So I thought that was taking a little bit more of a swipe than we've seen. This has been a very cordial race.
Yeah, and we'll see tonight too. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if that, gets a little more intense.
Because there have been some things, right?
Yeah, well, yes, because there's been a mailer going out. None of us have received it, but apparently it went out to some areas of town where, or maybe it just went out to, I don't know, registered Democrats, I don't know, that he had signed a MAGA Trump loyalty.
According to the flyer, according to the flyer that Spiro Cheregatis had signed some kind of
they say that's not
loyalty
true,
pledge.
But he has run as a Republican for district judge.
So maybe it's just semantics, anybody that runs, apparently, we don't know exactly.
We're still trying to find that out, but he has run as a Republican for as long as he was a district judge.
Right,
I mean, this is,
and
Barbara's
she's a
been a Democrat for years.
It's not like a big secret. I don't know why.
No, it's,
there's a lot of stuff. The race is getting closer to the end. You have that going on. There's a clip of her going around from, I guess, supposedly from 2023 speaking. Supposedly she was speaking to a Republican group from what I'm told. And she says something to the effect of that the MAGA Republicans are the biggest threat to our society or some kind of thing. And
she was a delegate to the convention.
That's a very that clip is a very tight clip. There's no context to it whatsoever. So I don't know what that means, or what she was talking about. But it's been spreading around the social media pretty heavily.
It's obviously going to serve to do 2 things. It will either fire up the Democratic base and or fire up MAGA Republicans who may have voted for Prine, who had planned to sit out, but now they're going to be so, I'm just going to vote against her. So I don't know that it's really the best tactic on her part.
Well, I didn't think either one of them, both of them, to me, their tactic has been not to do anything very controversial or directed at their opponent. That both have been kind of that way.
That was the case in the general as well.
Right. And they've been very cordial to one another for the most part. But I think that this is, it seems to me like maybe a sign that there's some internal polling that isn't going well, or that they feel like they need to be aggressive. But you're not seeing the kind of, certainly it's a huge departure from the last 3 election cycles that we've had, mayoral elections, which they were very hostile and got really down and deep into the ditch on racial issues and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, especially the first race between Sandy Stimpson and Sam Jones. That was one of those.
The hill and the valley and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, it got pretty ugly. It was bad. And this has been very cordial. I mean, even to the point where, I think that during one of the debates, I guess I can't remember if it was a TV debate or the AL.com one, but they said something about it. They asked Spiro if he had a rebuttal, and he said, "I wouldn't call it a rebuttal. I agree with my opponent." That kind of thing.
That was during the Fox 10 one. He did that plenty of times.
Yeah. So I mean, they've been pretty calm in that regard. But it's definitely going to be an issue, and I think you also had Drummond once again had some more the endorsement from the homicide division of the city, which that created a lot of controversy because the police chief came out and said, "Hey, the homicide division can't endorse anybody,"
right?
And which exploded into a whole bunch of stuff online about firemen endorsing and policemen endorsing and could they endorse or not endorse and the sheriff endorsing and the DA endorsing and so but that turned into a little bit of a debacle as well because Drummond's office had put out a press release saying that the homicide division of the police department endorsed her, but they came back and basically said there were just a couple of people who had done that.
Because they made it sound like it was the entire unit who endorsed her, but that was not the case.
Yeah.
I kind of just wanted to pose a question to the land yappers who are paying the closest attention to this race, which is you, Kyle, and Rob and Ashley. It certainly feels like this race is becoming one where it's not even about their policies. It's becoming about who's endorsing each candidate. Because it seems to me that's all I'm seeing in all the news outlets.
Yeah.
I mean, what do y'all say about that? I mean, are these really like what their campaign should be about?
Well, the answer to that is no, because this is about parks and potholes, and it shouldn't be about Donald Trump or Cory Booker or any of that. I mean, that's why it's nonpartisan. But this is the world we live in today. So, I for one don't think endorsements really matter that much. I don't think people vote on those. I mean, maybe it sways you a little bit in one direction, but especially in this day and age, I think people know what they want, So, and you really shouldn't for this race. I mean, it doesn't really, your views on abortion and, all of these national topics have nothing at all to do with running a city. Yes. Israel. Yes. All of the things. So, you really just need to be like, who's going to be the best representative for us at the Paris Air Show? Who's going to be best to take us into the future, with new technologies and
who's going to fix the bus system?
Yeah, those are the things that matter, not all of this noise.
Who's bringing back Brooklyn by the Bay?
Yeah. I mean, who's going to get that opened up? And
that's an issue that really fires me up. But
But
you have asked
really,
about
that's
that.
not a joke.
But no, those are the things that really matter. So, I mean, I think that's what voters should really think about. Like, who do you want for that? I mean, it does not matter at all who either of these people supported for president or what their that has nothing to do with running a city. It just needs to be who has the greatest chance of making Mobile better. And
I think if anything, I'm sorry, Scott, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think endorsements reinforce what people already think.
Yeah.
And then maybe even inspire them to remember to vote and, get out to vote what they already think.
But I think they turn off people more like, oh, that guy's endorsing him or her. I don't like that guy. So, I don't think it
need to sit this one out.
I think it makes them more motivated to vote against than for. Like, oh, that guy, I like him. I'm going to, I'm going to go. I wasn't going to go, but now I am. So,
I think in this race, the biggest endorsement that makes any difference is Sandy Stimpson's endorsement of Spiro. And that is because it shows some closeness to Sandy's agenda. And Then, on the other side, you have Barbara, who had worked for Sam Jones for many years. And oddly enough, it's kind of instructive that he has not issued any sort of endorsement, probably because it's not been asked for, because my guess is that it would be more of a detriment to her than a help. But she is still close to him in terms of that. That's an issue that I think she has to have. To me, the whole issue at this point is sort of, it's still somewhat a proxy fight between Sandy Stimson and Sam Jones at this race. That's what it's about. It's kind of like, are we going to continue doing the things that we're doing under Sandy, or are we going to go back to doing some of the things we did under Sam Jones? And that's where I think those are the only ones that really make any big difference.
Yeah,
to
I
me.
agree with that.
Yeah.
But, well, anyway, it's going to be over pretty soon, and we'll have the coverage of it next week. But it's getting testy, that's for sure. And we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with somebody even testier, Tony Hicks. And we are back with Tommy. I was joking about you being testy, by the way. You're always pleasant.
Except when I'm testy.
Well, that's you have a right to be testy right now because you're busy. You're very busy. You're covering football, and more football. We had a huge event this weekend with the Jags playing Auburn.
Yep.
They didn't win. How do you feel like they acquitted themselves?
I think they played well. I mean, certainly better than the bookies thought they were going to do. They were 25.5 point underdog, and they played them 31-15, only allowed Auburn 3 points in the second half, 74 yards. So did pretty well. I mean,
they were driving there at the end, and then they fumbled.
Yeah, they just couldn't, they couldn't make something happen.
They could have got it to a one-score game, which would have been pretty exciting.
Had some options there and just couldn't make it.
We were standing around getting very excited toward the end. It was like, and then, they fumbled. Well, going to get a drink.
Well, there
all right.
It goes.
But,
Yeah, they've got an issue with that. They got to fix that as they go forward. That and tackling in the open field, they're still having a few issues with that. Because Auburn, now, not to say that this was just like a close game the whole way. Auburn scored 4 touchdowns in the first half. So, I mean, they moved the ball pretty well.
Good. Yeah.
And they were long drives for the most part. But, but I think they came away with that feeling good about themselves. They go in this week. They play their first Sun Belt game against Coastal Carolina. That's 6 o'clock kickoff here at lovely and beautiful Hancock Whitney Stadium. They're going to be favored in that game. And,
well, they played 2 teams that, are, I guess, Tulane and Auburn both are programs that are, I know you could argue Auburn's not been doing great all the time lately, but they have, they're bigger programs in more established football programs, I should say. And Tulane's been pretty good over the last few years.
Tulane's doing well. They can play Ole Miss this week. We might be talking about them next week.
Right. And South has done well against both those teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were in the game.
They were in the game both times. 33-31 loss to Tulane.
Yeah. So they've looked good, I thought, overall.
They've got some issues to clean up.
Don't drop it to Coastal this week, though. We can't play down to that level.
No,
right?
You don't want to. No. You don't want to do that. Coastal has not looked good. They got beat 59-0 last week, I think, or something like that.
Okay, well,
so they need to get that one.
That's a little rough. And then today we've got something going on. We think that may be pretty exciting, right?
Hockey fans, this could be your day. October 17 could be your day. It is our understanding that there's going to be a press conference at noon.
Yes.
And they will announce that minor league hockey is officially coming back to Mobile.
Okay. All right.
So Mystics haven't been here.
Are they going to name it the Mystics again?
I don't know. We tried to look that up earlier. We don't know who owns the trademark.
I like that name.
Everybody likes the name, but who owns the trademark? That's going to be the key.
You just name it and then find out if somebody comes out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Somebody steps forward and says, hey, I got that.
Just put an X in there and just go. Yeah, there you go.
I don't like that. I don't like
you got 2 hockey sticks as the hockey sticks as the X. I mean, come on. Works perfect.
Okay.
Just think of it, think of the logo. It's going to be great.
I hope that's true. I really enjoyed hockey when I was here. So.
Yeah, it's cool. And I think, I think it's definitely a different era in terms of people watching hockey. It's a lot more. It's a more Southern sport than it certainly used to be.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I mean, and there is a league that has teams from there. Like I think there's a team in Birmingham, Huntsville, and Pensacola. We don't know what league they will be
Yeah.
in. We don't believe it's going to be the East Coast Hockey League, which is what they were in previously.
Yeah.
That league is blown up and it's all over the place. But there is a more local league. Now that league also has some teams in the north that would be in their league that they would have to play,
Yeah.
but it would also have some local.
So
rival.
also, I think we would, I believe that there would be access to ice around here that kids probably could form hockey leagues. We probably could have kids playing hockey locally too.
Yeah, this is all in line with the new arena.
Some of the plan,
They're supposed
yeah.
to have a rink
Right.
there, but there is also what we've been told in the past is that they will build a separate
Right.
practice rink that will also be available for youth hockey, public skating,
Yeah.
other hockey related.
I know they have youth hockey in Huntsville.
Yeah.
So I don't see why we couldn't have it here.
That's right.
We never did that before, I don't think.
My wife went over to see the Pensacola team not all that long ago and loved it. She said it was a great thing. But they also had dog races on the ice during during halftime or whatever. So
That took like 30 minutes, so didn't it?
They were remarkably quick. Yeah, the little dogs are short legs, did great. Yeah, they were doing fine. But so we need that kind of thing around here. We need that sort of entertainment. Dogs on ice.
Yeah.
The only thing that would concern me would be it lasting. It not becoming a flash in the pan, which a lot of minor league teams in this area. Let's be honest, that's the problem. They start out really strong, and then they fold.
I think with anything like this, you've got to continue to market. You can't just say, "Well, we did." I mean, that's the typical Mobile thing around here is to put something out there, everybody goes, and then we're doing great. We don't need to market. And then when things don't do as well, like, well, we don't have money to market. But I mean, you have to have a marketing plan. You have to be telling people about these games all the time.
Yep.
I mean, the Bay Bears were the absolute epitome of that. They did not tell anybody when their games were. They didn't do anything to market. It was just, and also a lot of other issues, concessions, et cetera. But I mean, I think we could have done far better.
The problem I would have with the hockey in the South and in this area is that the teams that do well, Huntsville, Pensacola, Biloxi, they're military towns,
places, right?
Where you have guys who grew up following the game,
right?
That's not as prevalent here,
right?
So you have goes back to what you're saying. You're going to have to market.
You got to make some hockey fans around.
I mean,
here.
they averaged the first year they were here. They averaged more than 5,000 fans.
The Mystics
a game. The Mystics did. When they left, it was barely over 2,000.
Yeah.
So it just kept going. One year it spiked. Their best season, it spiked, but beyond that, it dropped every year.
You got to create hockey fans. You have to have people who are interested in it and who learn about it. And if you've got kids playing, that helps.
Well, see, that's what I talked with Steve Chapman, who used to be the general manager of the team, president of the team, and Toby Jeffries, who is the majority owner. I talked to them a couple of months back when this kind of popped up, and I said, "What would be the difference?" And he said, "You've got to have the youth hockey because you've got to attach it to something. You've got to build it. Build a
kids
foundation.
Playing, they're going to want to go see the team. Dad's got to take them. Family's got to go. And then
it's
they
got to
get
be
into
more
it.
than just like the circus coming to town. You go, "Oh, that's cool. I don't see that every once in a while."
Yeah.
It's got to be something you're involved with, and they believe that will be, and the separate practice facility is almost really necessary because then you bring in other factors as well. So we'll see.
Well, hopefully we'll hear about that today. We're talking on Wednesday, so hopefully by the time people hear this on Thursday, you'll be writing a story about it. And then we also, of course, high school football is going crazy right now. Where are we? I know we've got a bunch of teams doing really well.
We've got 14 teams that are either ranked or receiving votes in this week's high school poll that the Sports Writers Association puts out. You got Viger number 1, but then Williamson's number 3 in 5A. So I think that's your state semifinal game right there. Those two teams, they're really both playing really well. St. Michael is number 2 in 4A, right behind Jackson, where they were last year. The only team to beat them. How about that, Ash? The only team to beat them. Those Aggies.
The Aggies.
Go Aggies.
Go
And
Ags.
they're still loaded, so that's going to be.
I was
that
going to
could
make
be
a noise, but I couldn't think of
What's
one.
an Aggie noise?
Yeah.
Oh, my back hurts.
Get the tractor going.
Get the tractor. Yeah, tractor noise. Vroom, vroom.
I think
I
that
don't
could very well be a state semifinal
Yeah.
game as well. Those two teams, and then you've got MGM is number 4 in 7A and doing really well. So it's going to be interesting to see.
And I have to check in on Murphy. I've got to check in on Murphy every week. How are things going with Murphy?
Murphy scored 6 points last week.
Okay, all
but
right.
it came on the very last play of the game.
Okay, against freshmen, I think, right?
Yes,
They
it was not the first string defense.
So they've at this point scored 2 touchdowns this season.
They've scored 12 points, and their opponents have scored. Let me do the math in my head. 167, I think.
Yeah.
So that's not a good ratio.
Poor guys.
Yeah, I heard the band's good though.
I don't know.
I just heard that. I heard they're good. I used to listen to
They
them
could be.
practice. They used to be right across the street. They were pretty good. Those poor kids. I feel bad for them. It's they've got a long season ahead of them.
They do. They've still got some pretty good teams to face and haven't faced yet.
Well, we'll keep up. Hopefully they'll pull a Bad News Bears at some point and win a game. It'd be nice. All right, we're going to take a break here. We'll come back and talk about some Foxes and some other things. And we are back. Scott, you've been covering a story from Dauphin Island involving the Chamber of Commerce for quite some time here. And there's some pretty new developments that are pretty fascinating, I think.
And we are talking about the Mobile Chamber, which is kind of funny
the
when
Mobile
you're,
Chamber,
how
right.
does the Mobile Chamber, how does it involved in Dauphin Island? I think that's probably part of the story. But so emails filed in court this past week show that Bradley Byrne, the president of the Mobile Chamber, basically agreed to sign to correct a deed, a 70-year-old deed, at the request of his law partners in Adams and Reese.
So for those who are not paying attention to this story or have not been paying attention, Bradley is the president CEO of the chamber, but he also works for Adams Reese as a lobbyist.
Yeah.
Which
Part of his
he
agreement.
has 2 hats here, right? Yes.
Yeah, part of his agreement was to when he stepped on as chamber was they were going to let him remain as a lobbyist for Adams and Reese and stay as attorney for them.
And so and
everyone has always been like, gosh, it seems like there could be a lot of conflicts of interest there. So, and this is just illustrative, perhaps, of one of those.
Right. Yeah. And I think these emails show maybe even more to the point that they called him and said, we need you to do this. And he said, sure, I'll take care of it.
Yeah. I can handle it.
Yeah.
That's what his response was. And it's that the issue at hand is that they are trying to get in this easement for beach restoration.
Right.
Property owners have sued, saying that, according to the Mobile Chamber's deed back in 1954, which deeded over the island to the property owners, it cannot be public use. And they claim that they're trying to make this some back way of trying to make this a public beach now. And
right.
So they sued over that. Now, to get around that lawsuit, they want basically we're going to correct the language of that deed.
Right. We're changing it after the fact.
70 years later.
And saying that this is really what people meant back then, 70 years ago, right?
And when we asked the chamber, when we asked Bradley and their attorney about, can you guys show us, what you used to make that decision,
Right.
All they would tell us was, well, we did our due diligence and we did all this work. Well, that wasn't reflective in the emails where
Right.
Bradley, from his Adams and Reese email address, no less,
Right.
was emailed back within hours,
Yeah.
basically committing to doing
Yeah. A
this.
couple, 3 hours later, he writes back and says, I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't really indicate that he spent a tremendous amount of time doing this. And so, you get back into this whole issue of he's being paid by Adams Reese. He's being paid by the chamber. Now the chamber's kind of riding to the rescue of Adams Reese in this lawsuit. And it doesn't look good. I mean, I'm just saying, it does not look good.
And then not to mention that this is all following on the backdrop of his lobby work, where he's a registered lobby for Dauphin Island,
Right.
for beach restoration. And now
Right.
he is now actively trying to use allegedly trying to use his position as chamber president to now defend beach restoration on the.
Well, in the email, they even asked him who could sign this new document, and he says, "Well, I can do it. I'm the president and CEO, so I can sign it." Yeah. And so, I mean, it's I think it's pretty explosive. I mean, I think it's really explosive
it probably
stuff.
Would have been, in retrospect, better for them to have the chairman of the board to sign.
Probably that, or
instead of the president, CEO / lobbyist for Adams and Reese.
Yeah, in retrospect, may have been better not to have the president of the chamber doing two different things. But that's an issue, and it has been something that we've looked at over time. And I mean, I think this is the most glaring issue here, glaring example of it. Yeah. Speaking of Dauphin Island. Grant, you've been on the Fox beat here. You've been on the Fox patrol.
I don't remember exactly when I joined this news organization, but it feels like it very quickly went from deep dive reporter into Fox reporter.
Well, look, there's a lot.
I've dug myself a foxhole. So the good folks over in Dauphin Island, or at least one, and then another one in Mobile, being photographer Spence Harrison, have filed a lawsuit with the town of Dauphin Island, which is essentially a TRO, a restraining order to stop the trapping and euthanizing of foxes on an 800-acre West End nature conservation. And it's really been heating up. This all stems from a decision the town council made to follow a long-term conservation plan, which found that the foxes were a predatory nuisance, among other things.
They're eating the birds, they're eating the turtles,
they're eating nests,
they're eating the dogs,
eggs.
they're eating the cats.
Yeah, and
I'm sorry.
The town has said that they've tried methods to prevent predation. For those of you that don't know what that word means, it's when a predator kills prey. And
we don't think you're stupid, listeners. Don't take it that way.
Sorry.
Well, the plaintiffs say that they don't really believe some of those mitigation tactics were done and spurring the lawsuit. And that's all going to come out in court. We've got a hearing on October 2nd, which I will be sure to dig into.
Yeah, they're nice. So these guys that filed the suit, pardon me, the guys who filed the suit are basically saying, we like to take pictures of foxes, and this is what we do for a living, and birds and stuff like that. Or they go down there and take pictures of foxes, and this is damaging our livelihoods to get rid of these foxes.
Right,
and
that is one of their legal arguments. Dwayne Woods, who is a Dauphin Island resident, it appears that their argument is simply that they enjoy them.
Yes,
and that they believe they're part of the natural ecosystem. Yeah.
And then I believe there is now the city has filed a motion to dismiss, but
that's correct.
We'll see where that goes.
And then also, Spanish Ford has joined this game as well.
Oh my God! Yeah. Yes, they have, and
they are not limiting it just to foxes. We've got
muskrats, nutria, coyotes, and beavers,
and box turtles. No box turtles.
No box turtles.
All right.
All I will say on that is that certainly people are interested in seeing how municipalities respond to the natural ecosystem around them. And the first comment on that story was, no.
Yeah.
Listen to what happened in Dauphin Island.
Yeah. Well, we've got a coyote problem here in Mobile.
Yeah,
so
I mean, the official mascots, Lagniappe, are Nutria. So we're going to have to be on Team Nutria.
Yeah, Team Nutria. That's right.
Lanny and Yappy.
Poor Lanny and Yappy.
Yeah.
Grant, the cover story this week you did on ice raids here locally, and how this area is the most concentrated area of ice raids in the state. And that is having an effect on the home building industry in Baldwin County in particular, but around the community.
Yeah, so the really interesting thing here is that, and I can't speak for the entire home builder industry, but a lot of the business leaders in that industry locally are of the conservative bloc. And, when the Trump administration first took power in late January, everybody was on board with this massive immigration enforcement push. Yeah. And now that they are on the receiving end of that push, they're starting to advocate for an easing of the severity.
I think one of the people you talked to in this story is Nathan Cox of 68 Ventures, which is one of the area's largest home builders, and
they were at one time. Yes, they're still in development. They currently build sites for developers to come on to. Yeah.
But Nathan Cox who said, "Look, I'm a Trump supporter. I support all of this, but we're down to like 25% of capacity."
So if you were working on 100 homes, if you started them last year, and subdivisions take longer than a year to build, you are currently now only really able to finish 25 of those 100 projects. This was a story we had kind of poked around for a while since August, because one thing I noticed when I got here versus where I was, which is in central Mississippi, was just the frequency of ICE raids that were being reported, not just by us, but by some of our competitors, just in the area. And what we were able to confirm through our own research and data provided to us was that over 80% of the arrests that are related to immigration enforcement raids or ICE raids were made in Baldwin and Mobile counties.
In Alabama, so 80% of what's happening is happening here in these two counties. You talked to both the sheriffs. But you also talked to some people who work in the home building business. Some people who are one gentleman in particular who is Hispanic and a U.S. citizen.
That's right.
But said he's been hassled and he's actually thinking about going somewhere else where he's not going to be hassled as much.
Yeah, and not even just him. We also talked to a source on the record who's chosen to remain anonymous out of fear of retribution from ICE. But what they've told us is that they work in areas that are not just in Baldwin and Mobile County, but across state lines on the coast, and they're not seeing these issues. And people with varying degrees of legal status or seeking legal status are being arrested and booked. And I believe Grace McCaffrey talked to us about that as well. Just the policies around getting legal status in the United States have been shifting somewhat regularly since the new year, and it's caused a lot of these guys to lose some of their work visas, their legal status, their work permits, and they're getting arrested after.
That's a great story, and I think folks ought to check it out and see what's going on with that, because I know there's a lot of reporting on the national level, but this is kind of right down where the rubber meets the road. Scott, you also had the end of the Jonathan Victor trial last week, which was a civil suit in federal court. Folks who don't probably remember, if Jonathan Victor was shot in 2017 alongside I-10 by a deputy, Matt Hunady. Am I saying it right? Hunady. I always say his name wrong. Yeah. Matt Hunady. And after a one-car accident, he got out of the car, was acting kind of strangely, and after a long standoff, then he was shot several times and died. His mother filed a lawsuit. They went to court. They finally came back, and
finally made it to trial this last week.
I mean, it's been years.
It filed in 2018. The event happened in 2017.
Yeah, it's been 8 years now.
It's been a consequential case too. I mean, it was very huge when it happened, and then it ended up changing the public records law in Alabama.
Unfortunately,
involving us. Unfortunately, And so this last week, on Friday, the verdict after jurors took about 2 hours collectively to deliberate the case. They came back and found Matthew Hunady not liable, or that he did not use excessive force during that incident, and it basically just ended the trial in the whole deal, right there in its tracks. So there's a bunch of other questions kind of hanging out there, but those were kind of all contingent on whether or not the jury decided he was liable or not. So a lot of moving parts, and concludes a pretty long-tailed story there.
Yeah, it does. Well, I still think that there's a lot of stuff there, and I still will take a little issue with Sheriff Lowry and the attorney for the sheriff's office, basically trying to say that Hannity was protecting the public from a dangerous situation with a guy who had a fanny pack in his hand. I mean, I think you can call it a terrible accident, terrible mistake, whatever, but it still gets couched as this guy was a danger, and he was not a danger. I don't think there was I don't think you can make a real argument that he was a danger.
And also one thing that I was, thinking, I had kind of discussed with the plaintiff lawyers was, kind of the scope of the trial was very narrow. They only examined the officer's actions.
Right.
And there was a lot more to that story. There was the crazy information getting released from the sheriff's office, kind of misconstruing and misinforming the public about what happened. Yeah. And none of that was being litigated.
That's part of the stuff. I guess, we've seen this whole thing from the beginning is that, they had a press conference in which they claimed Jonathan Victor had ketamine in his system, and that was sort of why he was acting this weird when the ketamine was actually administered to try to save his life after he was shot, something I think they absolutely had to have known when they said that at the press conference. And then, there's the issue which this continues, I think, after the fact, but, even the issue when we went to court at the Supreme Court to try to get the body camera footage, one of the arguments that their side made was if the body camera footage was released, that Hannity might be convicted of or might be charged with a crime. So there's some stuff there that's pretty strange.
Yeah.
But it is over, and it's been a long time. I'm sure for the Victor family, it's not a very sweet finish to it at all, and probably a lot of bitterness.
Yeah, speaking with them and through their attorney after the trial, one thing he did stress was that their goal was to make it this far, and they wanted to share their story, and they wanted to make it to trial, which is a huge task because you have immunity for officers in these cases typically, so they overcame a lot of barriers, and then were actually able to argue in front of a jury. But one thing I asked the defense attorney is, you have these optics of a jury who has no idea about any of this happening or any details on this case, and they're being asked to order this law enforcement officer to pay millions of dollars to this family.
Right.
I can't imagine that's a compelling or desirable thing for them to do.
It's a tough thing. It's a very difficult situation for them to be in, and like you said, they don't have all the facts they don't have the whole breadth of everything that's occurred.
Yeah.
Well, that's all we got for this week, folks. We'll be back next week with the next
remember
episode
to vote.
of Lagnapod.
Yeah.
Go out and vote.
The Lagnapod is a Something Extra publishing production. Executive producers are Rob Holbert and Ashley Trice. Music is by Some Pulse Sounds and Electro Animals. Only subscribers like you have access to this podcast. Tell your friends they can sign up at my.lagnapmobile.com. For advertising opportunities, please call 251-450-4466.